Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Services will be beginning momentarily. It is our tradition here at Ohev Shalom that anyone ascending the bima should be wearing a head covering, and all the men should be wearing the talis, unless they're under 13. And you will notice that we covered the Torahs for high holidays a little early this year. A little early, like maybe, 13 months?
Friends, let's all take our seats and let's begin our service with Jan this morning. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone here. Welcome to our friends on live stream. It's already started. I got it all set to go. Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Hi, Alan. Hi, Tanya. Good Shabbos.
Page 140. Ma tohu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tohu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'ani berov chastecha avovetecha. Eshtaka el heko kochika bihiratecha. Adonai ahavti mion betecha u'mekom mishkan kivodecha. V'ani eshtaka v'yekra evrecho lifnei Adonai hosi. V'ani tefilati lecha Adonai ratzon Elohim berov chastecha aneheni be'emet yishecha. All rise, morning blessings, 146. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan us aktiv v'nal hakavim ben yom u'ben layla.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzalmo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asanu b'nei korih.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivri.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish sharumi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asuri.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokeh kifufim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa li kol tzarki.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher echin mitzadik avher.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozei Yisrael b'gvura.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam otei Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
hanotei layav
koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'aveh shenai me'einai numami afapai.
Amen.
May all be seated. Yehi ratzon milfanecha. Kutanenu chayim uv'kol yom l'cheinu chesed rakami v'einecha uv'einei kol ra'einu v'tigma leinu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim li'amo Yisrael. Continuing on page 152. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'tzotav v'tivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah v're'ena Adonai Eloheinu b'Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'karabanu mikol amim natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. A Kibbutz Torah on Re'eh, Shabbat Machar Chodesh, Shabbat Meverachim, and Rosh Chodesh Elul. This evening is Rosh Chodesh Elul, the final month on the Hebrew calendar. We will bench Birkot HaChodesh, blessings for the new month after the Torah reading this morning. Normally, there is a special Haftarah reading from Samuel when Rosh Chodesh immediately follows Shabbat. But because today is also the third Shabbat of consolation from Isaiah, Isaiah will take precedence. The month of Elul, which precedes Rosh Hashanah, is special with the addition of Psalm 27 every day and the blowing of the shofar every weekday. No blessings are recited for the shofar. Parsha Re'eh has blessings, curses, and more than 50 mitzvot. Shep and Sharon will begin reading the Parsha with the advice not to adopt the ways of the kingdoms that you shall possess. In the Maftir, Jeff will read about the ingathering and festival celebrations. The third Haftarah of consolation, read by Mike, will comfort the people by assuring them that Jerusalem will be rebuilt and the covenant will be maintained. The prophet invites those who are thirsty for spirituality to study quenching words of Torah. Continuing with Kaddish Rabbanan, this is the Mourner's Kaddish, page 154. Mourners will please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'oma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedu kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amen. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal kudsha brichu le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram v'oma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Tamidehon v'al kol Tamidehon v'al kol mandios kim b'oraita v'biat rahadad v'tar v'atar Yehelchon Shlama Rabba China Vechista Verachamin Vechain Orrikin Sonervike Forkana Mikadamu Vahonda Bishemaya Beatra Bimru Amen.
Amen.
Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya Vechaim Tovim Alenu Vial Kol Yisrael Vimru Amen. Osei Shalom Vimru Mav Hu Barachamav Yasei Shalom Alenu Vial Kol Yisrael Vimru Amen.
Amen.
Psalm for Shabbat, page 168. Tov lahadot l'Adonai l'melech elyon. Sadikata ha'ifra ke'eretz bavanun yiske shetulim b'veit Adonai b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrihu odinu v'seva Deshenim v'ra'anim yihu Lehagid ki ashar Adonai Zori velho avlataba. All rise, Sukkot Zimra, page 180. Baruch Shamar v'chayah ha'olam Baruch Hu Baruch Ozer Reshit, Baruch Omer V'Yoseh, Baruch Ozer Ha'Mechayim, Baruch Merakem Al Haaretz, Baruch Merakem Al Habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sakar Tov Lebreha, Baruch Ha'Elad V'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Podeh Matzil, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el ha'av ha'rakaman hamhula b'fihi ahamo Mishubach u'mefohar Mishubach u'mefohar B'lashon hasidah v'avadav Shirei David avdecha Melech Adonai Eloheinu Bishvachot u'bizmihirot Bishvachot u'bizmihirot Negadel kamishabercha u'fahercha V'naskeder simcha v'namnechecha ma'halkeinu Eloheinu Yachid kei ha'olami melech mishubach u'mefohar Hadeh ha'shemo ha'gadol Baruch atah Adonai melech mehulal b'tishbachot. Continuing on page 190, Ashrei. Ashrei, Ashrei v'techa od halelucha selah.
Ashrei ha'ashekachalo, Ashrei ha'amshirnai Elohai.
Tehillah leDavid, Adomi kolechaycha melech, v'abracha shemcha le'olam va'ed. Gadol, Adonai Melech Meod, v'lidulato ein keker. Adar kivod hodek anifrei fotecha asicha. Zekerev tekaya behu, v'yatamik kirenu. Nun b'rachum Adonai, erek alpayim yudal chesed. Tov Adonai lechov, rachamav kol ma'asav. Kevod malchut keyomeru, v'duretecha yidaberu. Malchutzka malchutzka olamim, u'memshatecha b'chol dor v'ador. Nechol lecha eseberu, v'yatamik et klem b'ito. Tzadik Adonai b'chol derecha, b'chasid b'chol marasav. V'tzon riyav ya'aseh, v'yat Shabbatam yishma v'yoshiem. Tehillah tekidat v'erpihi, v'varecho basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed. Anachnu berek yaha, me'ata v'ed olam. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. 194. All in Shabbat, hallelujah. Hallelujah. All in Shabbat, hallelujah. 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 Bekocho. Hallelujah. Berkiyahusa. Hallelujah. Benivorota. Hallelujah, Kerohukudlo. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Beteka Shofar. Hallelujah, Nivea Bechinor. Hallelujah, Bitofu Makol. Hallelujah, Minim Behugah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, B'tzil Tzalei Shama. Hallelujah, B'tzil Tzalei Truah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol Nishamat, Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Page 196, following page. Nishmat kol kai, v'reket shem kai Adonai Eloheinu, v'ruach kol basar. Melech ala atam yimlak mishmalak miraklahak el gadol hagivor ve'anora el elyon konei shemayim v'haaretz nehalel cha u'nshabercha u'fercha u'nvarek et shem kodshecha kamor leDavid varki nafshi et Adonai b'kol kerovai et shem kodsho.
a whole pack of them. Oh, here, yeah, right here. Yeah. In case anyone else snaps. Before we go into Shochin Ad, I need to take this off. It's very strange doing that. Okay, there we are. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I was just grazing over this beautiful little poem on page 197, and I'd like to read it to bring us into continued spiritual mindset for this morning. A prayer in the spirit of thanksgiving on 197. We thank you, O God, for life and love, for an awareness of the beauty in creation, yours and ours, for being part of your plan and your world, for being able to assume responsibility and to know fulfillment, for feeling your presence when we are lonely or afraid, for being able to dream and to hope, to reach out and to grow, to help and to care as we seek and draw ever closer to you. Let's turn now to page 218, Shochinad. Shochinad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim baronai l'sharim nova tehila b'fi yesharim tithala v'divrei tzadikim titbarach ובלשון החסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יפאר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור, שכן חובקו היצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיח. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו. שיר ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה הנצח, גדולה וגבורה תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני. אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים. page 220, חצי קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמר קודשה ברכו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דעמידן בימיו ואמרו amen. We turn to page 224. All those who are able will rise for Baruch. Baruch et Adonai havorach. Baruch Adonai havorach leolam vaed. Lai 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 26.
הכל יודוך והכל ישבחוך והכל ימין קדוש אמין. הכר כך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס ותחגו עלינו למות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. 228 אל אדון. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ובורא בפי כל נשמה, גדול וטובו מלא עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו, המיקה על חיות הקודש, ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומשול לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת בבינה ובחשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאי זיו וביקי נוגה, נעזיבם בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים מהם הרצון כהונם, באר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא על השמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. 230. לאל אשר שבה מכל המעשים, ביום השביעי תבוא לשבח מזמור של יום השבת טוב להודו לאדוני. תתברך מושיענו על שבע מעשי ידיך ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפארו חסלה. Continuing on page 234. תתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בני קדושים, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. וכולם פותחים מפיהם בקדושה ובטהרה, בשירה וזמרה, וברכים ושבחים ופארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא, קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליכם ומלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות לזה להקדיש רצונם מנחת רוח בשפה רוח ונימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ויאמרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול, מנשאים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם שבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני למקומו, לאל ברוך ואימות איתנו. Page 236. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש עד ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. Turn to page 238, Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah Avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chem Lagdula V'Tera, Chamalta Aleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Ba'avur Avotenu, Shebachu Vecha, Avinu Malkeinu, V'hatlamdem Chukei Chaim, Ken Techonenu Udlamdenu, Avinu Ha'av Harachaman, Hamrachem Rachem Aleinu, V'ten B'libeinu Lehavin, Laskin Lishmoa, Lilmod Udlamed, לשמור ולעשות ולקיים מכל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה והאר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחל לבבנו לאהבה ולראה את שמך ולא Shem Koshecha Hagadol Vehanora Batachnu Nagila Venismecha Bishuatecha. We pause for just a moment as we gather our tzitzit, collect our tzitzit, and we continue on page 240 for Vahavienu. Vahavienu leshalom me'arba kanfot haaretz letolichenu komemiyut le'artzenu ki epo elishut ata ufanu v'charta mikolam belashon v'keroftanu l'shimcha hagadol selah be'emet lehodor lecha u'yacherecha be'ahava Baruch ata Adonai abocher b'amo Yisrael b'ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meyodecha ve'hayu hadabarim ha'ele asher anochi netzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך דרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. 244. והיה אם שמות Continuing on page 246, Vayomer. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber emanei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem ve'asu lahem tzitzit al kafei vigdeihem ledorotam v'natanu al tzitzit הקנה פתח תחלת והיה לכם לציצית הוריתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם amen. 248. לדור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. ודבריו חיים וחיים. אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו פודנו ומצילנו מעלם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך. Page 250. עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם. אשר איש אישה שישמע למצוותיך ותורתך ודברך ישים על ליבם. רב ניסה גדול ונורא משפיע. Continue on page 252 at the top. Tehillah le'el elyon baruch hu umvorach Moshe u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira Besimcha rabam yamru chulam Mi chamocha bailim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh Norah tehilot osefele osefele Norah tehilot osefele osefele Shir שבחו גאולים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כל המודו והמלכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובטח נאמך יהודה וישראל. גו עלינו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Continuing with the Shacharit Amidah, we can find it on page 255. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות ומדום אליו, מלך מגיד ומחיה ומצליח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לאחיו מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. 256 קדושה. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו משמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקורש גדול, אדיר וחזק, משמיעים קול מן השאים ליום הטרפים, ליום התם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו, כמחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו תשכון, בקרוב בימינו, בקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתקדש ותתקדש, בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. היתה דוד משיח צדקך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיגו לך, לדור ודור נגיגו לך, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Continue privately, quietly from 258 to 266. כי לישראל מחנתו ביחפה. ya'aseh shalom. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Continue on page 268. Kaddish Shalem. Yikadav yitkadash merabah be'amad yivrach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayerecho beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman karev v'yimaru amen Yehei shemei rabah mevorach le'alam u'lam le'amayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yidadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal shmei koresha v'rechu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yamav v'yimaru amen Titqabel salorchon v'otchon dechol Yisrael kodam avochon v'yishmaya v'yimaru amen יש לומר רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen Well folks, we have reached our point for our little hafsaka. Let's take a few moments, say hello to some folks, take a bathroom break, not a water fountain break because we're not using that at the moment, but whatever you need to do to stretch your sea legs, and we'll be back for the Torah service. And we welcome Miss Alana Goldstein, who will be helping leading us in Inkamuch. This is the step I was step on it. Let's just see how we feel. It's perfect. Friends, let's return to our seats slowly and surely as we will start transitioning into the Torah service. Until it's over, you can go back to your seat. Okay? I'm going to let you and your mom decide that. All right. We're all headed back to our seats. It's so good to be able to schmooze and to see one another. Right, we're on page 312. We welcome Miss Alana Goldstein to the Bima, who is a upcoming bat mitzvah, and she's going to lead us today in the Ein Kamocha, 312.
Wait, should I move the mic? Okay. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein k'ma'asecha Malchut kol olamim Vayibin Ha'aron, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, V'yachutzu Oilecha, V'yalusu Misanecha, Mikadecha, Mitzion, Tetzet Torah, Ki Mitzion, Tetzet Torah, U'Devar Adonai, Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Le'amor Yisrael, B'kedushato, Amen.
We are continuing on page 316, Yasher Kohen, Lolana. We continue, Ve'anarachetz. Ve'anarachetz, Ve'lish Ve'kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emot Ushkecha, Ve'anarachetz, Ve'lish Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emot Ushkechan, Yeheira Avakodama, Detiftach Livi V'yoraita, L'chachli Mishalim Delivi, V'libatechol Amach Yisrael, L'tavol Chayin V'lisha. Amen. We turn now to page 332 as we read together the prayer for our country. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessings upon our country and upon the leaders of our nation and of our communities. Inspire all who lead and serve to conduct their affairs honorably. May peace and security, happiness and prosperity, right and freedom abide among us. Unite the inhabitants of our country of all backgrounds and creeds, so that we may banish hatred and bigotry, safeguard our noblest ideals, and preserve those institutions which nurture liberty. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, helping to unite all peoples in peace and freedom, and bringing closer to fulfillment the visions of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, for the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, calm and confidence forever. Amen. Absolutely. Page 320. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Galol Adonai iti unromemo Shem Ro
יחדיו, לאדוני הגדולה והגבורה, תפארת כי כמו בשמיים ובארץ, כמו בשמיים ובארץ, והישכבו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני Eloheinu. You may be seated. I'd like to invite Idel Wood, who will be leading us this morning in our Devar Torah. Idel?
Good morning and welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to see you all fully clothed. I was a little nervous. Somebody might either not have something that fit or they wouldn't remember. But thankfully, you're all here. My morning started out absolutely spectacularly. I woke up to seeing the Israel flag being raised in Tokyo and hearing Hatikva. You know, that's such a stirring feeling. And so once again, we got a gold medal. It was in rhythmic floor exercises this morning. A young woman named Leonie Ashram. So that brings our total to 2 golds and 2 bronzes. And I don't know about you, but in a country where it's so difficult daily to live and survive, I think it's spectacular that we can field a team of athletes that's not only competitive, but can win against countries like ours and China and countries that have enough money to really back their athletes financially. So it was a great start for the morning this morning. We got 2 golds, 2 bronze, and you spent all winter with me, I'm sure, studying how we built the Mikdash. We built it with silver and gold and bronze. And let's not forget, it also had copper, and that would be the medal I would get. Okay. Another wonderful thing I want to share with you, I think that Rabbi would not mind me sharing this. It's kind of public knowledge at this point, hard to keep a secret. But last Thursday, Rabbi was not at Dominion, and all during the day on Thursday, the OHEV COVID task force was engaged in a back and forth email discussion because that was the day our world sort of turned upside down again with new mask regulations and new facts and figures, and Bucks County was tossed into a high-risk category. And it was very odd that Rabbi didn't respond at all to any of the emails. He didn't comment, and we just kept going. And that evening, I think it was in the evening, Kanaran Elise said, "Did anyone hear from Rabbi today?" Right?
I think so.
Yeah. And nobody had. So about 9:30 that night, as I was reading all my emails for the end of my day, I got a statement, a press release from the White House. Hanan Weissman, who is the rabbi's son-in-law, was named the liaison, the Obama administration liaison to the Jewish community. And I'm sure this was not planned. Rabbi told me he went to Baltimore for a totally different reason this weekend. But I'm quite sure that on Thursday, Rabbi was not with us and not responding because he was probably at the White House. So, I'm sure that he doesn't mind me sharing it. If it's a press release from the White House, it's not a secret anymore. So it's wonderful to hear that, and great for the rabbi and his family. I don't believe that was his original reason for going to Baltimore. There was another one. So, two great things. And now I will, Alana, I want to share with you that I know you were nervous up here. Me too. You know why I'm nervous? It's not that I haven't done this before. But for 1.5 years, I've had a friend to help me do this. My friend's name was Zoom. And it's so wonderful to teach on Zoom because you can bring things up on the screen. And we had a lot of fun with some of the things that I was able to bring up on the screen. Last week, Alana, I brought up a roll of toilet paper on the screen. But today I don't have a screen and I don't have any capacity to do that. So I have only one thing to teach with, and that's the good old original text. So I'm going to need a lot of people to help participate. And this is a great Torah portion. It's full of all kinds of great stuff. But we're going to talk about you are what you eat. I know you've heard that before. And all of the things we're supposed to eat are on page 1072. And thank you to Fran who left me a... No, that's all right. I'm going to leave your marker where it is. But thank you for leaving me the chumash so I have the text. We find here in chapter 14, verse 3, about the things we are allowed to eat. Now, these are all repeated. We already know this stuff. The book of Deuteronomy is just like the TV in the summertime. It's all reruns. So in the summertime, when we read the book of Deuteronomy, which actually means in Greek deutero, we're reading the reruns of the Torah. We already know what we're allowed to eat, what we're not allowed to eat. So let's look at that whole concept. Let's explore that. This past week, one of the rabbis in our community published an article that really stirred everyone up. It was not about kashrut. But one thing he said, which really struck a note with me, is if Judaism is to remain relevant, inertia alone cannot determine our future. So let's look at kashrut in those terms. And I'm going to look to you to share the things that you're comfortable with sharing and not sharing if you're not comfortable. There are those of us in this room who observe kashrut to one degree or another, and some that don't observe kashrut at all. So if you're willing to admit this, how many people grew up in a home where kashrut was observed by your parents and your grandparents? Did you grow up in a kosher home? Okay, and for some people, that looked different than it does for other people. My home was not kosher until I was about 5 years old. I really didn't know what any of that meant. But it happened. It was a conversion that happened, and it's part of who I am to this very day. Did you want to share something, Alana? Okay. Okay. But I'll tell you something, Alana. The rabbi grew up in a house that wasn't kosher.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm shocked under my house.
He did. But of course today he is kosher. There's an issue inside the house and outside the house. And Rabbi is both. I'm both. When my father first announced that we were going to have a kosher house, I didn't know he meant inside and outside. That was a little hard. I didn't mind the inside thing. The outside thing was really tough. Because you know how little kids are? I was only about 4 or 5 years old. And little kids only eat one food. My one food that I ate was fried shrimp. And all of a sudden, I couldn't have that anymore. Well, what could I have? You could have fish. Well, I don't like fish, you know. So, but I grew up okay. And I never experimented and I never tried to go back, and I certainly could have. Senator Lieberman, we're familiar with him and his orthodoxy. He wrote a lovely book called I think it's called A Taste of Rest. And he confesses in that book, it's very small, maybe 75 pages. It's a great read for a Shabbat afternoon. He confesses that in his college days he experimented. Lobster and all that kind of stuff. So you never know what's behind somebody's kosher heritage. Now, I'm not going to ask people if they're still kosher, but if you want to share something and it comes out in the conversation, that's fine. But I will ask you, when you decide to go to a restaurant, how do you make that choice? Paula?
Yes, I make a choice. I eat eggplant parmesan.
Okay.
That's it.
So Paula makes a choice in what it is she's going to eat when she gets to the restaurant. So for those people who don't keep kosher, how do you think they make a choice of what you eat in a restaurant? Alana?
Kosher, not kosher. Like all the organic you're eating.
Okay. I have a feeling, though, that people go into the restaurant and they order whatever they see on the menu. They think, oh, I feel like having that tonight, without really a choice. But somebody who is kosher, and we're all, and here we're mostly conservative Jews. I always say I'm a conservative Jew, I make choices. And so we can go into, most of us will go into a restaurant that's out on the street, and we need to make a choice. What on that menu is something that would be acceptable for us to eat? It wouldn't be acceptable for every person who observes kashrut. It certainly wouldn't be acceptable to those people in the Haredi communities. They will only go into a restaurant where they know the mashgiach. They have to actually know the mashgiach, not just the symbol, but they got to know the person, the man. It's a man all the time. They have to know that man, because if they don't like that person, or they don't think his standards are stringent enough, they won't eat in that restaurant either. So even those Haredi people are making choices. So we have to make a choice. Those of us who eat kosher food are making choices. I find that to be much easier nowadays, because the internet has everybody's menu on it. So if somebody says, do you want to go out to eat? I will check out that restaurant and look at the menu and know before I walk through the door what it is that meets my personal standards. Am I ringing a bell for anybody? Yeah? We have a lot of eggplant parmesan eaters. Okay. So, and so it's a very personal thing to say I'm kosher. And it's a very personal thing to walk in a restaurant and decide what is kosher, because there's probably somebody at another table who's, look, that's not kosher, and that's how life is. But interesting that there are people who will go to any restaurant and eat anything in the restaurant that they can't bring home into their house, because they're not kosher on the outside. That's something I never quite understood. But I have a sister-in-law who likes seafood salad. She eats it on the patio on paper plates and plastic forks. But she doesn't mess up the house. And also when they go out, they won't eat like that. Yeah, Shira.
I grew up Reform. I'm sure they serve fried shrimp at bar mitzvahs at my synagogue. But right now, we go to a Jewish summer camp, and we have to bring our own lunches because of COVID. They can't provide lunch.
Except for pizza Friday.
So I'm responsible for creating a kosher lunch for both Alana and myself every day. It's been actually very difficult. Number one is I can't eat dairy. So then that affects my choices. There's certain things she won't eat. We have to go out and buy vegetarian meats, things like that.
I'm not picky.
So I'm suddenly learning the limitations of kashrut. And it's very interesting to see. And I would say 90% of the kids that go there prefer towards vegetarian food because they can't say meat, they can't prove it's, you know, kosher or not. It's difficult. It's a lot of work.
It is very difficult. But in this world where more people are vegetarian than have been in the past, it's a lot easier to go into a restaurant and find an appropriate choice because there's many, many vegetarian choices. Now, my kids went this summer to a Jewish camp. My kids are in Los Angeles, and you cannot send them a gift. You can't send them any food. You absolutely no chocolate chip cookies, no brownies, all the good things that moms and grandmoms and like to send away to overnight camp as a treat. You can't send any food into that camp unless it's packaged with a hechsher, you know, like snack food. So it is definitely a deliberate choice, if you are kosher, that you cannot sit down at the table and you cannot put a meal on your own table without serious thought about what that food is and how it's going to be prepared and what kind of utensils you're going to use. You know, there's a little debate that goes on out in the world that there's something called dairy equipment. You might find that on a product. It says it's kosher and it says DE. That means dairy equipment. The folks at OU will never label a product DE. They will simply call it a dairy food. And you'll stand there and look at the ingredients and say, there's not a single dairy ingredient in this product. Why is it dairy? We won't get into that now. It's very complicated. It's so complicated that the OU folks refuse to use that designation. But if you want to know more about it, don't stop me in the hall because we don't want people congregating. Email me, I'll share it with you. So why is it that we keep kosher? Keep is a bad word. Why do we observe kashrut? What is the ultimate reason that we are kosher people? Or we were if we're not now. Fran?
Separate us from the other nations.
It separates us from other nations. Many of the things in the Torah are in the Torah for that purpose. You can read all the time, and you read in today's parsha about the other gods. So it's not like God didn't acknowledge that there weren't other gods, but this was our God, and He told us, keep kosher. Mm-hmm.
What is to feel closer to God and
So it kind of makes the eating and preparing food spiritual and connects us with God.
And Tom, I think it was Tom that you're mindful of what goes into your mouth. You should be mindful of what comes out of those.
Okay. In case you didn't hear Arlene, she said we should be mindful of what we put into our mouth and mindful of what comes out of our mouth. So what do you think the major reasons people give for not being kosher is? Cheaper? Old-fashioned. I like that answer. That's the one I was going for. Any other reasons we hear why people are not kosher?
It's not relevant anymore. Doesn't matter.
Okay. It's another one, not relevant. Or as one of the sources I looked at, the Women's Torah, the author of the article in there says, it's an outdated vestige of ancient Israel practice. It was determined by rabbinic Judaism. See, we have two kinds of laws. We have law from the Torah, that is called Deoraita, and we have laws that the rabbis wrote. Some of them started it way back in the days of the Mishnah and continue until today, and that's called the Rabbanut. And there's a difference. The Torah triumphs over all. But yeah, as modern people, the person who walks in a restaurant and says, well, tonight's the night I want a big juicy steak, doesn't see the relevance to saying, I can't have that. So for me, that's where it's at for kashrut. I need to make choices that connect me to my people. I belong to a group of people who are on the internet called the Franklin Hawkaholics. Are there any other Hawkaholics in this room? Okay, so you may have heard that probably about 8 years ago now, a red-tailed hawk, which are our hawks, most of our hawks in Philadelphia area are red-tailed hawks, built a nest on the ledge of a window at the Franklin Institute. And they did a little research. They asked all the wildlife people and the raptors if it's okay to put a camera out there, a webcam, to see what was going on in the nest. And they got approval from everybody, and so they put a webcam up. And for the first time ever, we were able to see in real time, up close, what happens in the life of a hawk family. And they are families. Hawks mate for life. So they stay together until one partner somehow dies. In modern times, they get hit by cars, they fly into windows, and there's big glass buildings downtown. So we are the Franklin Hawkaholics. Did you ever watch a hawk eat? A hawk, many of you know I'm a nurse. I worked at Frankfurt Hospital, Torresdale. And they had a beautiful building where the nursing units were set up in circles, and in the middle of every circle was a courtyard outside. We're very close to the airport, the Northeast Airport. There were a lot of hawks. They came by to eat. Pigeons. There were lots of pigeons at the hospital. They would just sit on the roof when they saw a nice pigeon, swoop down, grab the pigeon, and eat it live. You know, and the feathers were flying all over. And you couldn't really have patients in the hospital looking out the window at this. But that's what separates the person who keeps kosher from the wild animal. We need to make choices, and we can't just eat whatever's flying by. So that's another reason that I find comfort in keeping kashrut. It transforms the ordinary activity of eating into something that's really, really special. I would like to leave you with, so as I said, there is the only reason we keep kosher is because it tells us to in the Torah. It has nothing to do with health. It has nothing to do with the particular animal or those animals, fish and birds. It has nothing to do with their lifestyle or any of that. There's only one reason we have. It's because it says in the Torah we should do this. That's called a chok, a law. There are about 4 of them, and that's all the only reason that we have. So we do this solely for the sake of God. So the thought I'm going to leave you with is, what did you do any given day this week just for the sake of God? And then when you either come up with an answer or you don't, I'm going to leave you with a homework assignment. This week, I think you should find something that you can do just for the sake of God. Shabbat Shalom.
Yashar Kohech, Idel, always insightful and so interesting. Thank you for sharing, and thanks to everyone for participating. We are going to transition into our service this morning. I'm so glad to welcome back up to the Bima 2 of our 3 Gabayim, Jan and Fran. And Alan, any old time you want to grace your presence with us, we'd love to have you back up here. So let me grab our sheet. Uh-oh. I have a sheet of them. Well, I had my sheet up here. Okay. So we're on page 1068. Today, Parsha, as Idel said, is Parsha Re'eh, and we are starting the first Aliyah, chapter 12, verse 29.
Ya Azorbi again be a share with all the same folk in a man, and I call it over the hand with a new kibod, the Torah. Ya Amad, Shlomo, Yaakov, Ben Steve, Tzipora, Baruch Shem Torah, Yam Yisrael, B'Shato, Vaytam Havik, Adonai, Vaytam Chaim Kolechem, Hayom.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Yom Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Ki Yakri'id Adonai Elohecha Et Hagoyim Asher Atarav Shama Reshet Otam Mipanecha Yarashta Otam Yashavta Be'artzaham Hishamer Lecha Pentinakesh Acharei Hisham Edam Mipanecha Ufen Tiros Lelohehem Lemor Echa Yavdu Hagoyim Ha'ele Elohehem Ve'eseken Gam Anihi Otasechem Adonai Elohecha Ki Kol to'avad Adonai asher sanei asu Eloheihem ki gam ebneihem ve'benotehem yisrafu va'esh Eloheihem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amod, Rachel bat Shlomo Malka, Ta'amod, Shendo Yehudit bat Hershel Ufruma, Shenit.
Eight call.
Take your time, miss. Take your time, miss.
It's been a long time.
I just want to go here. Oh, look at you. Perfect.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Et kol hadavar asher anochi mitzaveh etchem oto tishmeru ka'asot lo tosef elav what? Alav v'chol v'lo titigra mimenu ki yakum b'kir becha navi chalom chalem right v'natan elecha ot mofet uva. Why am I losing it? Uva ha'ot v'hamofet asher daber lecha lemor necha acharei Elohim acharim asher lo yidatam. That's the end of the lo yidatam v'na'av yidatam na'avdaim lo tishma el divrei hanavi hahu o el cholem chalom hahu ki minaseh Adonai Elohechem Elohechem etchem ledad hayishchem ahavim et Adonai Elohechem b'chol levavachem uv'chol nafshechem.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu, baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Fran, before we move on to our transition, I want to offer something for us. So before we get into our third aliyah, which I'm so grateful that our Gabayan Fran is ready to roll, before we move into that, that's okay, it's okay. I wanted to offer a special gematria for our birthday girl today. Rose is celebrating 87 years young, and I have a special gematria, that I thought that would be very fitting for this lovely lady right with us. So 87, I found, counts to two words, Kohav Adam, a human star. And I saw this and I thought, oh my goodness, this speaks to me so clearly to Rose, because the way I think of Rose, she is a beloved Ohev celebrity, right? She knows everyone knows Rose. Her smile shines so bright, her neshama shines so bright, and that she's just such a beloved person in our congregation. So naturally, not a constellation, but a human star, a star among celebrities in our shul, and we're so thankful for you. And like a star, may your life be beautiful and something that guides all of us to do what's right and to live life as beautifully as your life has been so far.
Thank you so much.
So I want to offer you a Misha Berach in honor of this beautiful birthday of yours. And we're thankful for you. We're so thankful for you. Make sure I can see the right Misha Berach. There we go. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Uyivarech et Rachel Rachel בת מלכה ושלום ואת Lady. It's okay. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמרם, יחזקם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיכם עם כל בית ישראל, ונאמר אמן. יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח. I love you, Mazel Tov. We continue now with our Hatzikadish.
Ikeda, Vikeda, Shileva, Yamadi, Rafi, Retevi,
So we're now on we're moving to the Maftir, which you can find on page 1087.
Yamod Elkanan ben Nevesara Maftir Hazar.
Because I'm going to do the second column. I go up to the top here. No, I start at the bottom. Okay. Oh, you're doing it? Okay. Well, I'm trying to find out where. No, that's not where I'm doing it. Thank you.
Oh, yes, let's get you to the right spot. Let's get you to the right spot.
Well, it's okay. Somebody else could do that for it.
We don't want you doing something else.
If it was Zoom, I could do it off the screen.
Actually, I'm going to add Mike because Mike is actually reading the Haftorah part. Yamod Mikhail David Beharad El Yesh B'Le'am.
That's it. Okay. Here you go, Mike.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorah.
Move it down over there.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu HaTorah.
Amen. I can't do it with this mask on. Excuse me, sorry. Amen. Chag HaSukkot Aseh Lecha Shivat Yomim Asbecha Megarnecha Umekevecha Tisamachta Bechakecha Ata Uvincha Uvitecha Vadata B'Matecha V'Halevi V'Hager V'Yadom Almana Asher Bisharecha Shivat Yomim Tahog Adonai Elohecha B'Machom Asher Yivchor Adonai Kivorkecha Adonai Elohecha B'chol Duacha V'chol Ma'aseh Yadecha V'yita Ach Sameach Shalosh Pa'amim B'Shana Yereh Kol Zechorcha Epnei Adonai Elohecha B'Machom Asher Yivchor B'Chag HaMatzot U'Chag HaShavot Chag HaSukkot Le'yoreh Epnei Adonai Rekam Ish K'madnat Yado K'virchad Adonai Elohecha Asher Natan Lo. Thank you.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet B'chayei Olam Nata B'tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah.
How's your cook, sir?
Amen. So, yes, thank you. Before we do, on 1085 is the Haftarah, like Mike will present to us. Let's take a quick moment to do the Mishaberach. All those who are here to honor and to remember and to pray for our friends and family, our loved ones, mind, body, and soul. We rise at our place. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב שרה רבקה רחל ולאה ויברך וירפא את וכל החולים בקהילתנו וישלח לכם רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, שבת היא מלזעוק ורפואה קרובה לבוא, השתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say amen. You may be seated. Now we will officially transition for the Haftarah, which will be chanted by Mike Zimmick on page 1085. So, because we're not doing the official lift, let's do the Haftarah, we'll sing it, and then we'll do the blessing for Israel and the blessing for the new month. Okay, I recognize that it's here. We're going to continue with the Haftarah, and then we'll dress.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Aniyah so'ara lo nuchama hinei anochi marbit b'apuch avanaich v'sadatich b'sapirim v'samti kadchod shimshotayich u'sha'araich lavnei ekdach v'chol gevuleich lavnei chefetz v'chol banayich limudei Adonai v'rav shalom banayich b'tzedaka tikonani rachaki me'oshek ki lo tira u'mimchita ki lo tigrav elayich ein gor yagur efes meoti migar itach alaychi po Hine anochi barati charash nofeach ve'ish pecham umotzi chalil ma'asehu vanochi barati mashchit lechavel kol kali yutzar alayich lo yitzlach v'chol lashon takumitach lemishpat tarshi zot nachalat avdei Adonai v'tzidkatam meiti neum Adonai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, she'kol devarav emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davarecha midvarecha, achor lo yashuv rekam, Ki el melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu, v'lalu vat nefesh toshia b'mheira b'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai, misameach Tzion b'vaneha. Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha u'v'malchut Beit David mishichecha b'mheira yavo v'yagel libeinu al kiso lo yeshev zar ve'lo yinchalu od acherim et kevodo ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichben eiro le'olam va'ed baruch ata Adonai Magen David Ala Torah Val Havodah Val Hanviim Val Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shanatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha V'limnucha Lechavod U'letifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarachim otach yitbarach shimecha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed baruch ata Adonai mekadesh haShabbat Baruch tiyeh.
So as the Torah is extremely heavy, I'll be wrapping it as it's winding down, but I'd love for you all to join me in Al Shlosha Devarim. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Alam, Alam. Turn now to page 332 for the prayer of our country. I'm sorry, not prayer for our country, prayer for Israel. Yes, same page. Same page. Right, the other country. Right. For Medinat Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu, Zor Yisrael v'golot, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, v'hagen aleha. We ask for blessings, O God, for the state of Israel, for the land of Israel, and for all the people of Israel. Bless those who defend the land and protect its people. Bless its leaders with wisdom, courage, and dedication. May they be resolute in the face of challenge and unwavering in the pursuit of justice and peace. May Israel be a beacon of hope for the oppressed, a source of inspiration to all who are free. Fulfill in our day the ancient promise. Sion b'mishpat tipadeh, v'shaveha b'tzedakah. Zion shall be redeemed through justice, and its inhabitants through righteousness.
Amen.
Amen. We continue on the next page, 334, as we welcome in the ushering of the month of Elul. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu shetchadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba letova ve'livracha v'titen lanu chayim arukim chayim shel shalom chayim shel tova chayim shel beracha chayim shel parnasa chayim shel chilutz hatzavot חיים שיש בהם יראת שמיים ויראת חטא, חיים שאין בהם בושה וכלימה, חיים של אושר וכבוד, חיים שתהי בנו אהבת תורה ויראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה. אמן סלע. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו וגאל אותם מעבדות לחירות, הוא יגאל אותנו בקרוב וקיבץ נידחינו מארבע כנפות הארץ. חברים כל ישראל ונאמר אמן. ראש חודש אלול יהיה ביום ראשון וביום שני המעלנו ועל כל ישראל לטובה. The month of Elul will begin on Saturday night, tonight, Sunday, and Monday. May it be a month of goodness for us and for all of Israel. יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל כל עמו בית ישראל לחיים ולשלום, לששון ולשמחה, לישועה ולנחמה, ונאמר אמן. We turn now to page 340 as we return the Torah to the ark. Yahalalu. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkar shemo levado, vado al eretz v'shamayim, vayarek keren le'amo, tehillah lechol hasikah, v'nei Yisrael ha'kedova. Page 346. It's Chaim.
now to our moment of Musaf, which can be found on page 362. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. Mekadosh shavi Shabbat, kulam yismechu v'yitanegu mituvecha. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashahu Shabbat, Chagat yamim ato karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, alei Shabbat. Zecher למעשה וראשית שבת, זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. We turn now to page 400. Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehiktiru Abotenu Lefanecha Et Ketoret Hasamim La 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 rise, if we're able, page 402. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'terek gedula le'otzer b'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'ratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishmechot ha'adama, shelo samach alkeinu kahem, ve'gor ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהונות השמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינת עוזו וגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אינו אמן מלכנו אפל זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות האלף אביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. If you're at your custom, you be seated. Continuing 404. Okay, nekaveh lecha. כי המלכות שלה היא עולמי תמלוך בכבוד, כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. We pause now in our service to note with sorrow the passing and remember those who are no longer with us. Esther Kane, Linda Cornell, Edith Davis, Shirley Levin, Jessica Brooke Rabinowitz, Etchela Spiegler, Reba Waschel, Norman Sattler, Rose Skolnick, Martin Whitkin, Adele Brown, Morton Lakin, Morris Linetsky, Sherry Rocky Knock, Rose Solaf, Herman Zimmet, David Rosen, Lisa Silver, Sydney Wasserstein, Anna Zimmet, Irving Barash, Stanley Bernstein, S. Eugene Coben, Isidore Fine, Zelda P. Freimark, Lillian Goldstein, Lawrence Lunenfeld, Michael Seichik, Francis Boisel, Irving Horowitz, Louis Kaplan, Sidney Andrewsier, and Mildred Arnold. And in the period of Shloshim, we know with sorrow the passing of David Aronson, Harold Kurtz, and Lou Chaifetz. And in our year of mourning, and Rona Silverman, Edward Rosen, and Edward Rosen. In our year of mourning, we remember Mara Lipschutz, Mildred Klein, Jeffrey Berlin, Hollis Cohen, Donald Gordon, Michelle Fields, Joel David Kaplan, Sandy Goldstein, Charles Steinberg, Lily Zimmet, Robin Solis, Beryl Gottesman, Stephen Springer, Mordechai Glickman, Larry David Wiener, Evelyn Wiener, Rose Rosenfeld, Hannah Steinman, Sheila Tannenbaum, and Jerry Delson. All those who are here to say Kaddish, we rise in solemn testimony. Are there any names that I might have missed that we could share with the group? Page 410. Yitzgadal ve'yitzkadash shemei rabah, v'yamad yivrach yerutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv yimru, amen. Yehi shemei rabah mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal l'shemei l'kudashah b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran v'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. each one of their memories be for a special and eternal blessing to us all. So Idel will join us back on the Bima for just a few quick announcements.
Just a few, very quick. First of all, really have to thank my Torah readers this morning. As you noticed, the transition is a little tough. So thanks to them all. Jeff, who has already left us, he summarized it great. He said, if it was on the screen, I could do it perfect. Okay, so thanks to all of them. We have two important fundraisers happening right now. New Year greetings. It is in the Shabbatogram and the happenings and all of that. You need to take care of that right after Shabbat, maybe tomorrow or Monday, because that needs to go to the printer. It needs to get taken care of. And the other thing is the bagel scoopers. We have lots of bagel scoopers around, and that is a great fundraiser for inclusion. Inclusion has helped us to make this a safer sanctuary for the holidays, and it would be great if you could support that fundraiser. You get the bagel scooper, you get half a dozen bagel, cream cheese, and lox, and some kind of a motzi card. So please look in your emails and take care of that. Services from here on, Minyan will be Zoomed every night. Sunday will be up to the men's club. I think probably that will transition at some point. And Friday night services will be live in the sanctuary and Zoom at home. Saturday morning services will be live in the sanctuary and probably live streamed at home. All of that is evolving, so watch your emails. And please remember, we need you to register, not because we're going to have an overwhelming attendance, but we need to keep certain records, and we need to have your health form filled out. We need to have that registration. So even though it may seem silly to you, please do as we request. A lot of time went into making these regulations as a matter of safety for us and our entire community. Although we don't realize it, we have unvaccinated people, children who are not eligible for vaccines. We need to protect them. I'm not talking about people who choose not to get vaccinated. We are all vaccinated in the sanctuary, but we need to protect our children. We had a child here today. So therefore, even though it may seem silly to you, some of the things are annoying, please follow what we've asked you to do. We will be coming up on the Bar and Bat Mitzvah season. We have a full year of Bar and Bat Mitzvahs. They will have guests. So please reread those guidelines, register for services, and do it for everybody's safety. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for that. Yes, please make sure every Shabbat a link will be sent out on either the Shabbatogram, Shabbat, OHEV events, or OHappenings with the link. If for whatever reason you're not able to find it or you're not able to sign on, please call the office. We will help you get to that point. I'm delighted to have you all here. I know, again, with the masks, it can be challenging because we want to get on with it already, right? But yes, for the safety, and I really do appreciate you all keeping your masks on because Alana was the one person in this room who was not. So it really does help her, it helps us, helps keep everybody safe. So thank you for doing your part today. Yes, thank you for our tour readers. Thank you, Mike, for the lovely Haftarah this morning. And for our Gabayim, Fran and Jan, for being up here and helping along the service. It's nice to have a little bit more as we go on to doing the things that we normally do. It's great to have you all here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If there are no other further announcements, we're going to continue our service, conclude our service today with Adon Olam, page 412. Adon Olam Asher Malach V'Teko Yatzireni La Ve'ein Nasa B'Chatzoko Asay Melech Shema Yachare kichlonako, levadoim lochnora, vehuraya, vehuve, vehoyia betifara, vehoyia betifara, vehoachad v'yen sheni lehashila, leachira, v'lireshi, v'litachlit, Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.